You know, we spend so much time talking about fighting cancer, right? But what if we could actually spot the danger signs before it even begins? In this explainer, we're going to dive into the critical signals our bodies send out when it comes to oral cancer, and it's all based on some fascinating research from leading medical journals.
Okay, so cancer. We all know what that is. But have you ever stopped to think about what comes just before it? What's happening in that gray area, that space between perfectly healthy tissue and a full-blown malignant tumor? That's the crucial question we're digging into here.
Take a look at this. What you're seeing here is something called a pre-malignant lesion. It is a very serious warning sign. Now, this isn't cancer, not yet anyway, but it's on a path that could absolutely lead there, and understanding that path is the whole key to prevention.
So why does spotting this stuff early matter so much? Well, to really get that, we've got to zoom out and look at the big picture, the global impact of oral cancer.
Get this, every single year, we're talking about more than 644,000 new cases of oral cancer around the globe. That's a huge number, and it really shows you just how widespread this problem is.
And this is serious stuff. For men, oral cancer is responsible for a full 7% of all cancer-related deaths. It is a major threat, which is exactly why catching it early can be a real game changer.
But here's the hopeful part, if you can call it that. In a lot of cases, the body doesn't just flip a switch from healthy to cancer overnight. It sends out these little flares, these warning signals, and that gives us a window, a chance to actually do something about it.
All right, so let's dive in and decode these signals. What in the world is an oral potentially malignant disorder? You'll often hear it called an OPMD for short.
Okay, so this is the official definition. Basically, an OPMD is any change in the tissue of your mouth that isn't cancer right now, but, and this is the important part, it has a way higher statistical chance of turning into cancer down the road than normal, healthy tissue does. It's a really critical distinction.
I love this analogy. Think of it just like the check engine light in your car. Is the light itself engine failure? No, of course not. But you'd be crazy to just ignore it, right? It's a huge, blinking signal telling you to get things checked out before it turns into a total disaster. And just so you know, this isn't some casual term we're throwing around. The phrase oral potentially malignant disorders is the super precise, scientifically accepted term that's been adopted by the World Health Organization. They wanted to be really clear and move away from older, vaguer terms like precancerous.
Okay, so now that we know what an OPMD is, there's another layer to peel back. See, not all of these risks are created equal. They basically fall into two big buckets, lesions and conditions. And this shows you that difference perfectly. On the left, you've got a lesion. Think of it like a specific, isolated spot, a single target. But on the right, you have a condition. That's more of a generalized state where the whole area, the whole environment, is at a higher risk. So a spot versus a state. So what are we actually looking for? Well, for lesions, the most common ones are leukoplakia, those are white patches, and erythroplakia, which are red patches. These are things you can literally see, visible alerts. And then for conditions, it's about these broader problems. Things like oral submucous fibrosis, where the tissues in your mouth actually start to get stiff. Or even systemic diseases like oral lichen planus and lupus. These create a riskier neighborhood, so to speak, for your whole mouth. Okay, so we know what these things are. But how does a healthy cell actually go rogue? Let's follow that journey, from normal tissue all the way to invasive cancer, right down at the microscopic level. So, down at the cellular level, scientists have pretty much mapped out this progression. You start with normal, happy tissue, then you might get hyperplasia. That's just the tissue getting a bit thicker. But the next step, dysplasia, that's the big one. That's where the cells themselves start to look weird and disordered. From there, it can become carcinoma in situ, cancer that's still contained, and then finally, invasive carcinoma, where it breaks loose. And this diagram, wow, it shows that process perfectly. See on the far left? The cells are all neat and tidy, in orderly layers. But as you move to the right, through hyperplasia and dysplasia, things get messy, disorganized. And then, boom, invasive carcinoma. You can see how the cells have literally broken through that bottom boundary layer. It's a hostile takeover at the cellular level.
And the key thing to remember is, this isn't just happening by chance. What's really driving all of this are tiny genetic mistakes, mutations that build up over time. Things like a critical safety gene getting switched off. It's these behind-the-scenes changes that are pushing the cells down this dangerous road.
All right, which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If you have one of these OPMDs, what are the actual odds? What's the real risk of it turning into cancer? Let's get into the numbers.
So, if you lump all the different types of OPMDs together, a huge analysis of the data found that the chance of it becoming malignant over a 5-year period is about 7.9%. To put that another way, that's nearly 1 in 12. Not insignificant at all.
But, and this is a huge but, that risk is not evenly spread. Just look at this chart. The difference is staggering. For something like oral submucous fibrosis, the 5-year risk is about 5%. For the common white patch, leukoplasia, it jumps to almost 10%. But look at erythroplasia, those red patches. The risk just explodes to 33.1%, a 1 in 3 chance, in just 5 years. Let that sink in.
Yeah, the researchers are incredibly direct about this. The quote says it all. The risk of erythroplasia is exceedingly high. There's no beating around the bush. That is the red flag of all red flags.
And really, that brings us to the whole point of this. Identifying these at-risk spots is everything. It is the absolute foundation for figuring out what to do next, for making a plan to stop cancer before it ever gets a foothold.
So at the end of the day, it leaves you with a really powerful thought, doesn't it? If we can all just get better at spotting these signs, in ourselves, in the people we care about, could something as simple as awareness be our best weapon to stop cancer before it even has a chance to start?